The story begins with a prelude showing us the awakening of the Frost Queen. She is also known as the Earth Area's final boss monster, and she faces off against our hero, Seo Junho, also known as Spectre, who is one of the 5 players to face off against her. A fierce battle fueled by impressive skills takes place, after which we see the inevitable result of Seo winning the match. However, as a result of this, Seo is cryogenically frozen and put into a state of hibernation until he is fully able to absorb the Frost Queen's nuclei. This process ends up taking 25 years to complete, and then our hero finally awakens from his slumber. He goes to check up on his other colleagues, but notices that they are still frozen in hard ice. Luckily, Seo gains the ability to seal off the frost as part of the powers gained by defeating the Queen monster. Our hero thinks back to all the battles he's taken part in. They include fiends, monsters, and even final boss dragons. He remembers that he went through all of this to free his comrades. We also learn that he has abandoned the name Spectre, which has now become a legend. Now, the prelude comes to an end, and we move straight to the fight scene where Seo is facing off against the Frost Queen, who makes an icy appearance. She ridicules Seo for being abandoned by his friends to die, but he doesn't believe this to be the case. He rather says that everything will be fine if he simply manages to kill her. The Frost Queen laughs at this notion and calls Seo an ignorant fool. Our hero doesn't have time to chit and chat with his enemy, so he prepares his sword and says that he's serious about killing her and ending this nightmare. Now, the foes launch themselves into the air and face off against each other in rather brutal fashion. They slash their swords without holding back, and then the Frost Queen decides she's had enough of playing around over here. She distracts Seo with a sword attack and launches her ice beam, but Seo notices her tactics and evades the blow. The battle resumes, and each opponent gives it their best shot by swiping their blades with all their might. The ruthless encounter finally comes to an end when Seo unleashes a finisher slash and defeats the Frost Queen. She declares that she had fun during this encounter, but our hero doesn't share the same sentiment. The Queen's wound finally takes effect and destroys her once and for all. This is when the hibernation process begins for our hero, and then we are taken to an even further flashback to 76 hours ago in Antarctica. We spot the mystical dungeon of the Frost Queen, and then a bulky warrior named Kali slams his fists against the ice wall because he knows this is a trap to kill him and his team. His teammate Skaya tells him to calm down because they don't really have much time to waste. In order to achieve the best possible result, she decides to use Seo for the mission, but our hero feels a little anxious about this decision. Even the rest of the team members agree with Skaya because they know Seo is the only member among them who is strong against ice-based abilities. This prompts Kali to also concede to Seo, even though he wishes to be the one to put an end to the Frost Queen. Seo asks his team once more if this is a decision they want to make, but everyone happily accepts him as their choice. Skaya even smiles at Seo because she knows he won't make any of them die a meaningless death. This makes Seo a little emotional, and he promises to do them proud. Now, we move 25 years into the future, where a professor is giving a lecture on how Seo and his team managed to stop the Frost Queen in Antarctica, even despite her having the power to turn the entire Pacific Ocean to ice with the simple wave of her hand. A young student correctly guesses the team's name to be the Nest Team and is congratulated for knowing his history. The professor presents the ice figures of Seo and his team and refers to them as the 5 heroes. She asks the audience to show their respect to this team, because things would have been very different if they didn't sacrifice themselves. Suddenly, the bright student notices one of the statues moving, so he points it out to the professor. She doesn't take him seriously because that would be impossible, considering the statues are regulated at the right temperatures. However, she quickly has to bite her own tongue because Seo's statue gradually breaks down, and he bursts out of his cryogenic storage. He is notified that the absorption rate has been completed, and this is when he learns that he has learned Frost Axe, the move that can help him save his team as well. Seo looks up to the commotion around him and is completely confused as to what's going on. He is taken to the hospital for recovery, and news spreads all over the internet like wildfire. Seo is shocked to learn that 25 years have gone by, and understands that this might be why his body is feeling so weak. Despite all the drama, Seo still doesn't take off his mask in front of anyone. Suddenly, he is interrupted by the doctor and his nurses, who inform him that the president of the Player Association is coming to meet him. Seo doesn't want to meet this man if it's someone he doesn't know, but the doctor says that the president claims to be an old friend of his. This makes Seo a little suspicious, but he decides to go ahead with the meeting. Now, our hero looks out of his window and sees a peaceful world that is free from war and trouble. Seo is happy to see this, as it is a future he and his team had envisioned for humanity. However, at the same time, he realizes that he is unemployed, so he doesn't know what to do to earn a living. That's when he finally takes off his mask and decides that Spectre isn't the right name for him anymore. The doctor and his nurses are shocked to see his true face, but Seo maintains that he doesn't need the mask because the world doesn't need heroes as of now. This statement makes the doctor a little nervous, but that's when the president arrives to take over the conversation. Seo is shocked to see him, because he believes this is Deokgu, his old buddy. Deok is a little surprised by Seo's instant familiarity, so he asks to be left alone in the room with him. Deok comments that Seo hasn't changed even one bit, and it confirms to Seo that he is indeed talking to his buddy. Seo takes this chance to ridicule Deok's hairline, and it makes the president grumpy because his friend is pointing out something so trivial even despite seeing him after 25 years. Regardless, the buddies decide to sit and chat with each other. Seo asks why the doctor was so surprised when he mentioned that the world has become a peaceful place. Deok goes on to explain that when the Frost Queen was defeated, all the players received the same message. A flashback shows everyone celebrating the death of the Frost Queen while safe zones are set to appear everywhere. However, all these celebrations don't even last for a minute, because a dimensional elevator gets installed in the Pacific Ocean. It lifts the players to the second floor, and that's when they learn that the Frost Queen was not the final hurdle to pass. There are still other floors to get through, so the leaders of the world get together to figure out a solution. An expedition squad gets sent to the frontier to tackle the monsters of the second floor. However, it turns out that this floor is a land of endless opportunities. This includes access to all kinds of knowledge, resources, magic, and technology. Back to the present, Deok explains that there are 10 total floors, and the Earth became affluent thanks to the second floor. However, Seo wants to know which floor they are on right now. He makes a quick calculation based on the fact that he and his team took 5 years to defeat the Frost Queen. He first thinks that his team would have allowed the world to reach the 7th floor by now, but he remembers that he is the strongest among all of them. By this logic, Seo feels that humanity must have at least reached the 5th floor by now, but Deok continues to remain silent. Seo wants answers and eventually convinces Deok to confess that humanity has only been able to clear up to the 2nd floor within these 25 years. As expected, this news hits our hero hard, and he falls to his bed filled with disappointment. Even Deok has nothing to say as Seo blurts out expletives to express his feeling. It's time for an explanation, so Deok tells Seo that the main reason humans haven't been able to do much is because of the Frost Queen's nucleus. Seo doesn't understand what he means, so Deok further explains that the 3rd floor is a volcanic region filled with magma that is far too hot for normal people to deal with. Only a handful of players were able to explore this region, and after ages of exploring, they managed to find an altar in the middle of the lava sea. However, this altar needs the Frost Queen's nucleus to cool down the environment, so they got stuck at this point. Deok immediately puts his head down and reveals that nobody could find the nucleus no matter how much they tried to look for it. Seo consoles him and considers revealing that it is because he absorbed the nucleus after killing the Frost Queen. He imagines a situation where Deok is in disbelief overhearing this, but is more than happy to let go of this misunderstanding. However, our hero realizes that this is not a good time to let out his secret, so he holds off for now, but is also unsure of when would be a good time to do so. The buddies decide to have a chat to catch up on what happened these past 25 years, but it's getting late, so Deok asks Seo if he wants anything to eat. Our hero isn't interested in the grub, but rather, he wants to know about the museum dedicated to him and his team. Deok allows Seo to go out of the hospital in disguise so that he can see what it's all about. Now, our hero enters the museum dressed up as a modern teen and notices the skeleton of an epic dragon on display. That's when he notices the area with his friends who are still frozen in ice. Seo apologizes to them for being late, and comments that the world is a much safer place now. He sits down to have a drink with the statues, but notices some dust on Skaya, so he goes to clean it up. However, upon doing this, he is alerted that he has the Frost X power which he can use to break the seal of ice. Of course, Seo is shocked to learn that he has this power. Realizing that he can rescue his friends, Seo checks out his magic stats but learns that it is at a very low level, so he won't be able to remove these seals for now. However, the feat is still possible, so he checks out his powers to understand what he needs to do. Seo learns of some skills that help his stats increase every time he goes up a floor in the dimensional elevator. He calculates that if he is able to clear all 10 floors, then he will be able to save his friends, and also harness the true powers of the Frost Queen. Feeling determined more than ever, Seo promises his friends that he is going to come back and free them all once his magic level increases. Our hero goes back to the hospital and tells Deok that he wants to get back into action. He also points out that Deok is wearing a wig which is somewhat unnecessary at this point. Deok states that he wants Seo to rest because of the fiends out there. These monsters are people who use their powers to commit terrible acts of crime and evil. Seo is surprised that fiends are allowed to operate so freely, but then he learns that there are no CCTVs on the second floor, which is why crime is at an all-time high. Deok tells Seo that he doesn't want him to become a player again, because all the fiends will simply target him for revenge. Despite this, Seo says that he will take the risk because he wants to get to the 10th floor. Deok is skeptical, but his eyes light up when Seo suggests an idea for clearing the 3rd floor. It's not what he had imagined it to be, because Seo finally confesses that he had actually eaten the Frost Queen's nucleus. Deok's blood pressure rises upon hearing this, and he berates Seo for being reckless. Anyway, our hero reveals that he has the Frost skill now, so he can use it to clear the 3rd floor. Deok suspects that Seo is doing this for his friends, and our hero confirms this suspicion. Deok is glad to hear this, so he decides to work on the doctors who had seen Seo's face. On top of this, Seo also reveals that he is a level 1 magician for now, so he needs a new player's license. Unfortunately, Deok states that the guilds are more powerful than the association now. This means that Seo can only get his license if he agrees to go for the entrance exams. Our hero isn't exactly thrilled to hear this, but Deok tells him that this is a good chance to earn some brownie points from the public in general. Seo realizes that if he scores well, then Deok will have a feasible reason to help him out through official sources. With the plan set in stone, Seo decides that he will go for the exams and clear them with flying colors. And that's the end of part 1. Like, share, and subscribe if you want me to continue with the story. Make sure you hit the bell icon for regular notifications on my latest videos. Okay then, I'll see you in the next one.